Hey everybody! So in today's video we're going to go over clearing our food plot. I've been working on this one off and on over the past couple of days as I have a few hours. So we're going to go over clearing our access trail to our food plot for our equipment and just kind of some of the ways I do it just to keep as much cover as I can. We're going to go over clearing the actual plot and I'll talk about a few things as I'm working, and we're going to go over the finished product and hope you enjoy. So the other night we started clearing the access road down into this new plot. I'm going to kind of turn and show you. I'm sitting up in the road now. So you can see the road going down in, and it takes a left by that fir tree right there. So you can see it kind of disappears, and in the fall there'll be a little bit more vegetation blocking that down in. So you can see by making that a straight shot and then turning a hard angle, kind of shelters and protects everything and screens the plot essentially. And like I talked about, turn back here a little bit, after I planted the plot, you know, in the springtime, if I do a spring plot there, this probably will be a fall plot, but I can plant some type of screen right here as well, just to help you know, shield everything a little bit more. You can also see with that access road we made to the plot, you know, right before it, we have a lot of good screen right here, right? The trees, you can't see in, and especially there's a natural rise in grade right here. So even coming in and out of this pit, this property here, we're not going to affect the deer at all. Drive right by. And it's going to be a great one for the kids, my wife, you know, even me right after work. If I only have an hour to hunt, I can get in here fast and at least get a hunt in. So I usually like to start at the furthest point away from my entrance as I can. So you can kind of see where that flagging is right there. And you can see I'm sitting a little side hill here, but you can see the entrance is up there. So I'll start back here, and as I go I'm going to keep piling my brush over here, just so I can kind of pile it against where that stand's going to be. Just gives me a little bit more protection getting in and out of that stand, especially starting up in it. You know, that way my movement is concealed until I get, you know, 10 feet up in that tree. Just kind of another one of those things I do. I figure it gives me just a little bit of an advantage. So what I like to do is, I don't want to get too deep in the soil. So I'm just going to take the teeth of that bucket and just barely get them in the ground, with this little stuff especially. So I'll just kind of rake it into a pile as I'm going. That way I'm not disturbing the soil too much. That way I don't have to amend as much, right? Because the more soil you peel out of there and disturb, the more amending you're gonna have to do. So I'll just kind of pile stuff up for a minute. Just pop it. Once I get a little bit of a pile going, you know, usually I try to have a bigger one than this, but just to show. Pick it up. See the orange flagging, right? We're right on our perimeter. And then I'll just set it in a pile, close to where I want that brush to end up. So it's, a lot of times I'll get all this smaller stuff, if that's what it is. You know, I'll pop that all. This one's been cut for a few years, which is great. The stumps are just gonna roll right out. big things is obviously it's going to get wet down in there. You can see some of the cat nine tails we got. So I'm going to be very careful not to get into that. You can plant that stuff. You have a wet plot. Brassica does good. It'll take off. You know, obviously it can't be a swamp, but it'll take off in some pretty wet feet type of soil. But I tend to try to stay out of it as much as I can. So you can kind of see that soil. It's really dark. It's rich. It's going to be high in organic matter, which is a good thing, but you can also see we got a lot of raspberry bushes, which means our pH is going to be off. So that's another thing to kind of keep in mind as you're clearing these. We obviously know we're going to need a decent amount of lime in here. And I like to try to do my lime in kind of 2 stages. So I'll hit it. This I'm going to hit first thing in the spring. And then if this is going to be a brassica plot, which I kind of think it will be, I'll hit that again as I plant. So I'll hit it once in the spring and then once right before planting. And that'll let this establish fairly good that first year. And it also, that enables me to get the soil to take up that lime a little bit better. It's only going to take so much. You can only amend so much so fast. So I try to do it in a couple of smaller doses just to give myself a little bit more time to work into the soil. So we'll just keep going along, raking as we go. Try not to take any more soil out than we need to. As you can see, you know, I keep them relatively smooth. I say, you know, that I'm not, but you want to keep this as level as you can. You know, this plot's on a little bit of a side hill, so the more I get into this, the more erosion I could have with a big rain, right? So I want to kind of keep the soil disturb it as little as possible. So I'll just keep swinging and building my berm up against where my stand tree is and keep working my way back to the entrance. So these small trees like this, you take them with the excavator and your thumb, kind of put them on the side. You can just pop them. Shake them a little bit. Take them over and set them in front of my pile. I can do the same with this one right here. Just use the bucket, thumb, just pop them right out. Shake the dirt out of them best we can. And I'll kind of curl them towards me so the top's falling away from me. Open my thumb up, set them down. It's funny, as we're clearing, I got a notification on my Tacticam. I've got a camera that sits just over in there. And machinery in the wintertime for deer, it seems to be like a dinner bell. So I'll show you kind of the trail cam picture. And you can see the time that we got right now. So you can see the time we got. getting dark for the night, so we're gonna walk the equipment back out, park it, and be back tomorrow to finish up. Shouldn't take me too long. Daylight, I can kind of give you the overview of everything and show you the completed, cleared product. Alright, I'm gonna pick up right where we left off. So, just gonna keep those teeth just enough to kind of rake the ground. Pile everything up where I want to have it end up. Close to the screen, my stand there. So we got all the big rocks, stumps, trees, brush all popped, and we'll show you our pile here in a second where we put everything just to shield our access to our tree stand a little bit better. But now we're gonna go through and just rake everything and clean it back up, and that'll be it. So we'll show you that process and speed it up a little bit so the video's not an hour and a half long, but here we go. Just want to keep those teeth just barely scraping in the ground. That way you're not pulling any soil out or disturbing as little as possible, and you're just taking the big stuff right off the top. We've already gone through and popped the majority of the big rocks, so pretty smooth. All right, everybody. We're all finished up. All the big rocks and stumps, everything pulled out. Piled them up against our tree stand tree up in there. That way it gives us a little bit more cover walking in. Came out pretty nice. So in the next couple of videos, we're going to go over some existing plots we have and some changes we want to make in them. So stay tuned.